I was driving through Colorado late at night. I reached a small town. I stopped at a gas station to refuel and grab a snack. Then I got back on the road. Even though it was late and there weren't many cars around, I still followed the speed limit because it's important to stay safe. I was going about 55 miles per hour on a curvy road when suddenly I saw flashing lights in my rearview mirror. I pulled over when I noticed a car with flashing red and white lights behind me. First, I checked my speed and saw that I was only going a little faster than the speed limit, maybe 2 over. Then, I pulled over to the side of the road, and the car behind me did too. I was really annoyed. I'd never been pulled over before, and I always drive carefully. I felt like I was being stopped unfairly. When the officer came up to my car, I rolled down the window, and he said hello and asked for my license and registration. I wanted to show that I knew my rights and wouldn't just do whatever he said, so I asked, "Why did you pull me over?" He said he'd explain soon. I told him I wasn't speeding or driving badly, and all my brake lights were working, so I didn't want to give him my license if he stopped me for no reason. Then I looked at his uniform. It seemed strange. He wasn't dressed all in black like a typical police officer, and his vest didn't have "police" written on it. Even his badge didn't say police, it said criminal task force. He kept asking for my driver's license and car registration. So, I just straightforwardly asked him, "Are you a real police officer?" He said, "I'm part of the undercover team." Then he asked for my license again. I wanted to know his badge number, but he refused to give it to me. I remembered that police officers usually have to provide their badge number during a traffic stop, so I knew he was lying. I also noticed that his lights were only red and white, without any blue. I wasn't totally sure if that meant he wasn't a real cop, but it definitely added to my suspicions. The man told me to step out of the car. I told him politely, "I'd prefer to talk to your supervisor first." He got louder and more forceful, repeating his demand for me to get out. I said, "I don't believe you're a real cop. A real cop wouldn't hesitate to call their supervisor." I closed the window a bit, which made him angry. He shouted at me to open the door while he tried to unlock it by touching my window. I pushed his hands away and drove off. I heard someone yell, "Stop!" when I started driving away quickly. My heart was pounding, and I prayed I was making the right choice, or else I might end up in jail. But I also hoped I was right about the person behind me pretending to be a police officer, which made me realize how scary the situation was. As I drove at the speed limit, I noticed a car with its lights on coming up fast behind me. The only thing I could think to do was call 911. I called her and said someone was chasing me. I thought he was pretending to be a cop. He wouldn't show his badge, his car didn't look like a police car, and his uniform didn't have "police" written on it. I told her where I was and what was happening. Then, I told her the person was still after me. She told me to go to the nearest police station. She said she'd send an officer to meet me there. A man in his car was following me for half of my journey with his lights on. But at an intersection, he turned them off and turned right, disappearing from sight. This made me realize my suspicion was correct. He had been pretending to be a cop all along. Despite this, I continued driving to the police station. There, I saw a police officer sitting in his car in the parking lot. I parked, and he came out, seemingly expecting me. From the start, I told him everything about what happened, how the guy looked, his car, and the street he turned onto. He wrote down my phone number, probably so I could help identify the guy later. After a bit, I left. I'm happy I listened to my gut and stayed in the car. Who knows what would have happened if I hadn't?